Right, just a sort of bit of a sub note here. In preparation for today's video, what I did is I actually Googled underage gambling. Basically, what I wanted to do was find the stories that have been in the news this week, which I've been talking about. So I Googled it because I wanted to make sure I got all the statistics that they're quoting correct, so we could talk about them. Now, this was absolutely shocking to me. I Googled underage gambling, and the top two results are both paid for ads. So they're based on pay-per-click, and they are both for gambling sites. They're actually both for gambling affiliate sites, and they're both promoting casinos, obviously for a cut off the revenue. The most disgusting thing, and this is, I'll be honest, this baffled me. This absolutely blew my mind. I knew this was a underhand industry. I knew it was a bit of a scummy industry. But the second result that comes up for this mindthebet.co.uk actually uses the term underage gambling in their page title. It's horrendous, and it just goes to show the scale of the problem that we are actually facing in this country with regards underage gambling and with the underhand tactics that these affiliate marketing sites will actually use to draw in new customers. They don't care who they are. They don't care if they're adults with lots of money, people on the breadline, people who can't afford to gamble, or in this case, people who are actually underage. It's disgusting. Hi guys, and welcome to another video. As you could tell from the introduction, today we're going to be talking about underage gambling. It's something that's been discussed a lot in the news this week. The long and the short of these stories is that there are a number of children between the ages of 11 and 16 that are developing gambling addictions. Now, the actual numbers are different depending on which source you read, but the fact that so many news outlets are reporting on this story means it is a genuine problem, and it is something we need to look at. Now, I'm someone who actually started gambling at a relatively young age, certainly below the age of 18. When I was young, the options for gambling were quite narrow. You used to be able to play the fruit machines at the seaside, and then when you got a little bit older, occasionally you get away with playing the fruit machines in the pubs. Now, this is one thing they've actually talked about this week, which is that 9 out of 10 pubs, or again, the numbers vary depending on where you look, actually facilitate underage gambling, or they don't prevent underage gambling. They don't stop people who are under the age of 18 from playing the fruit machines. Now, whilst fruit machines are a relatively low stake, low reward form of gambling, and for those who are watching from outside the UK, fruit machines in UK pubs, you can play up to £1 a spin, and the jackpot is £100. So it's a fair amount of money, but it's not large in terms of what you can stake online or in the bookmakers. Now, what's dangerous about this is it's actually a gateway to sort of more significant forms of gambling. And I'm speaking here as someone who started off playing the fruit machines and then developed a gambling addiction which encompassed sports betting on the machines and the bookmakers, the FOBTs, and also playing on the online casinos. So it's safe to say that this is a problem, and it's a problem for which we won't know the complete fallout for a good number of years to come. What we need to do is consider how this can be prevented. The obvious is to tighten restrictions on the machines in the pubs, i.e. make the penalties for the licensee greater if underage people are allowed to play. The simple one would be to threaten to take away their license if they were caught allowing underage people to play their machines. Obviously, bookmakers already have a duty of care to ensure that there's no one under the age of 18 in their shop, full stop. And to be fair, in my experience, they've generally been fairly hot on this. Online casinos are very, very strict with regards to verifying who it is that's gambling. So typically, I don't see them as a massive problem. So where are these kids gambling? Well, of course, there's still the seaside arcades with the low stake, low reward, jackpot fruit machines. This is definitely the earliest exposure I had to gambling, and I can imagine it's still the same for many young people today. We've had these machines in seaside arcades for many, many years, and yet the gambling epidemic, and I don't think it's unreasonable to use that word, in this country has really only reached its peak over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. So where else can we be looking? One of the most prominent complaints amongst those that are anti-gambling, or certainly people like myself who are concerned about the level of gambling addiction in the UK, is the TV adverts. Now, we've all seen TV adverts. I'm certainly sure the most commonly remembered ones are the ones with Ray Winston for the Bet365, who always encourage you to bet in play on the football. There's been very memorable campaigns from the likes of Paddy Power, Betfair, and various others over the last few years. Virtually every commercial break you'll see in the UK will have at least one advert for a gambling company, and they do know their market. During the football, you'll see the adverts with Ray Winston telling you to bet in play. Basically, it'll show people in a pub checking their results and getting that buzz from a winning goal, or even from a winning corner or a winning throw. In the mornings during daytime TV, during Good Morning TV or Jeremy Kyle, that you'll see these adverts for bingo sites, which basically are targeted towards the people who are at home at that time of day, typically women, typically mothers who are looking after children and maybe a little bit bored with daily routine, and they promise this exciting social interaction with gambling almost as a secondary element. But none of these seem to be aimed towards kids, so why are we getting this massive influx of new gamblers? Well, of course they will have seen the adverts, and that will certainly get them thinking. But there are quite a lot of restrictions in place that actually prevent young people from gambling in traditional adult scenarios. I believe there's two factors. There's the fruit machines at the seaside arcades, certainly not to be ignored, certainly a gateway. The other one, and I think that what's been massively overlooked, is gambling which goes, I would say, under the radar. Gambling which is encouraged in young people, but isn't presented as real gambling. It's certainly not presented as real money gambling. I'm talking here about gambling in the form of in-game purchases, loot crates, CSGO skins. These are all items that have a real-world monetary value to the right person. But there's lots and lots of sites that are dedicated to allowing people to gamble these virtual items, which, don't forget, do have a real-world monetary value. But you can gamble these virtual items for bigger, better, more in-demand virtual items. But obviously you can lose them as well. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a big scam involving two big CSGO streamers. CSGO is a first-person war simulator in effect, but you can buy guns, you can buy different skins for the guns, which might give them a different look, and you can buy different accessories for your character in the game. Now, a couple of years ago, like I say, there was a big scandal around two big game streamers. These are people who play the games online, and their typically younger audience watch them play the game because they're particularly good at it, or they're particularly charismatic, or they react to the game, and they have a large following. These two were T Martin and Pro Syndicate. They were held to account by some really big channels here on YouTube, including H3H3 Productions, because they were promoting a gambling site where you could gamble the elements from this game that you've earned against other players to win their items. Now, like I say before, that sounds just like part of the game. Two problems. Firstly, as I say, these have real monetary value. Some of these skins sold for thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars. In addition, it's not just that. What it is it's introducing that risk. And that risk comes with a severe hit of dopamine, which, as we know, is what causes gambling addiction amongst compulsive gamblers. And this is what we're introducing children to at a young age. We're introducing them to that dopamine hit that is caused by risk, caused by that anticipation of whether you're going to win or lose, which is what gamblers crave. The end result, the fact they may win this skin, actually becomes secondary to the idea that you're risking something and you're giving your brain that injection of dopamine that it's craving. The worst thing about these, the very, very worst thing, is that they go under the radar. They are disguised as games of chance, as which by its very nature, is gambling to a T. Loot crates in FIFA, or card packets where you open them, you pay real money for them, you open them up and you get a selection of players. Now, you may get some real second-rate, second-division players, but you may also get a Ronaldo, or, one of the legacy players that's particularly, in demand amongst the FIFA community and actually has real-world monetary value. But you're paying money on the off chance that you may get one of these big, big prizes. Now, how is this any different to a slot machine, which is basically taking your money at the risk of winning more money? It's not. It's exactly the same thing. But this is targeted towards young people, and it's not set up so blatantly as gambling. It's disguised. It goes under the radar. This is where the real problem is. And I'm not just talking about the illegitimate promotion of these sites by the likes of T Martin and Pro Syndicate. That's been talked about at length. I'm talking about the very, very existence of these sites. This is something that really needs to be investigated. I'd love to hear your opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because as you can tell, this is something I feel very, very passionately about. So please do leave me a comment, check out my other videos, and I'll be very, very pleased if you do me the honour of subscribing. I'm trying to bring some more videos to you, trying to bring some sort of, provoke a bit of debate really on some of the subjects I think are really, really important.